All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to tear down the original blueprint for a technology that completely changed the game, the 2008 Bitcoin Whitepaper. We're going to figure out how it proposed to build a money machine that, for the very first time in history, nobody actually controls. But first, I have to ask you a question, and it gets right to the heart of why Bitcoin was even created in the first place. Do you really, truly trust your bank? Because the traditional system we all use, well, it has some pretty deep built-in problems. For starters, you've got the fees. Every single time you send money, especially across borders, a little piece gets shaved off the top. These middleman costs really add up. Then there's fraud. And here's a wild admission from inside the system itself. A certain amount of fraud is just accepted. It's considered an unavoidable cost of doing business. It's just baked right into the model. And finally, there's the privacy issue. You're constantly being asked to hand over more and more of your personal information, all because the system is built on transactions that can be reversed and argued over. That's the landscape. That's the problem we're starting with.
So, this leads us to the fundamental problem of money in the internet age. Why is it that whenever we want to pay for something online, we always need a middleman, a boss like a bank or a credit card company, to oversee the whole thing?
This slide lays out the core issue perfectly. When you hand someone a cash bill, that transaction is direct, it's final, and there are no takebacks. It's just between you two. But online, we have to rely on these trusted third parties, and that's where all the trouble starts. It introduces costs, the chance of reversals, and this constant need to settle disputes. The system works, sure, but it's all built on a foundation of trust that can be, and often is, broken. And then, right in the middle of the 2008 financial crisis, a paper shows up online from a mysterious person or group known only as Satoshi Nakamoto. And they didn't just criticize the system, they proposed a complete radical alternative. And this right here is the mission statement from the very first sentence of the paper. This single idea is the spark. What if we could have the finality and the directness of physical cash, but in a purely digital form? No banks, no middlemen, just a direct connection. But that brings up a huge question. If digital money is just data, what stops someone from just copying and pasting it, spending the same digital dollar over and over and over again? This is the famous double spending problem, and solving it is the key to the entire invention. So the first crucial idea is how Satoshi even defines a coin. It's not a file in a folder. Instead, think of it like the title to a car. Each owner signs the title over to the next one. In the digital world, this title is a chain of digital signatures, cryptographic proof of who owned what and when. Each new owner adds their unique signature to the end of the chain, proving they now have control.
But that definition alone doesn't solve the problem, right? I could sign my coin over to Alice, and then turn right around and sign the exact same coin over to Bob. Who gets the money? How does the network know which transaction came first? This is where the real genius of the system kicks in.
The solution is to get rid of secrets. Instead of a private bank ledger, Bitcoin proposed a completely public one. As you can see here, it's a four-step process. First, every transaction is broadcast to everyone on the network. Second, they get grouped together into blocks. Third, these blocks are cryptographically chained together in chronological order. And finally, the entire network has to agree on that order. By making everything public, it becomes impossible to spend the same money twice without everyone noticing immediately. Okay, so who does all this work? Who's grouping the transactions, forming the blocks, and keeping the whole system secure? And more importantly, why would they bother? This brings us to the engine that powers everything, a concept called proof of work. Think of it like a global competition. To earn the right to add the next block of transactions to the chain, computers on the network, we call them miners, race to solve an incredibly difficult math puzzle. The key is that it's designed to be hard. It costs real-world resources, like massive amounts of electricity and processing power, just to even have a shot at solving it. And this proof of work does something revolutionary. For the first time, it created digital scarcity without needing a central authority. It's a voting system where your vote is proportional to your computing power. The version of the transaction history, the chain, that has the most computational work poured into it is, by definition, the truth. To cheat, you'd have to outcompute the rest of the entire network combined. And here's the incentive. Why do miners spend all that money on electricity? Because when they solve the puzzle and add a new block, they get rewarded with two things: brand new bitcoins created out of thin air
and all the transaction fees from that block. Honesty here isn't just a virtue, it's the most profitable strategy. So let's step back and look at the big picture. What did Satoshi Nakamoto really create? It's a system for exchanging value that doesn't rely on trust, but on cryptographic proof. It's money without a central bank, without a CEO, without a boss. And these are the defining features of that system. You've got direct person-to-person transactions with no bank in the middle. Security comes from the math, the lock and key, not from a company's promise. Anyone can join the network, it's decentralized, and the incentives, the new coins, are all designed to make the whole system secure. As the paper says, it's robust in its unstructured simplicity. But what about privacy? If every transaction is public, isn't that a problem? Well, here's the clever trade-off. In the banking model, your identity is known, but your transactions are secret. In Bitcoin, the transactions are public, but your identity isn't. Your account is just a string of letters and numbers. It's like watching the stock market ticker. You can see the trades happening, but you have no idea who is actually doing the buying and selling. And so we're left with this, a system proposed in 2008 by a mystery creator, designed to run all on its own, secured by math and incentives, with nobody in charge. The white paper doesn't claim to have all the answers, but it asks a very powerful question that we are still trying to figure out today. Is this the future of money?